What is your full name, sir?
Richard A. Lamoreaux.
Where and when were you born?
I was born in Nanticoke, Pennsylvania on December 28th, 1935.
How old are you currently?
I'll be 88 in December.
88. What was your full rank and what part of the armed forces were you in?
I did 14 years active duty Marines starting June 10th of 1953, and then I got out of the Marine Corps on August 8th, 1967 on my return from Vietnam. And then later on I went into the Army Reserve because the Marine Corps Reserve had been disbanded locally in 1975, and I retired in December of 1996. And I was at the roller rink one night with what all high school kids did then. And a buddy of mine walked in, and he dropped out of school the year before, and he was in his Marine uniform. I thought, and that was probably 6 months before I joined.
And what year were you born?
1935.
So just outside of the Great Depression.
Yeah, I remember. I can't remember the Great Depression. Actually, we were on a.
You grew up in it.
I grew up in and we I was born and raised on a farm, and like the saying goes, we were poor, but we didn't know it.
Right.
No.
Right. What was the name of your parents?
My dad's name was Carl. My mother's name was Elva.
What high school did you go to?
Tunkhannock in Tunkhannock, Pennsylvania. I graduated June 9, 1953. Tunkhannock High School.
Now you enlisted, right? You weren't drafted?
I enlisted, yeah. Nope, I volunteered. I signed on.
You were 18 when you just went in?
17.
17. What did your parents think?
First time I ever saw my dad cry. He sat in the car and cried.
Did any of your friends sign up to join the service too?
Yeah, like I said, Bobby Shoemaker and Raleigh Farr, both of them we were Tunkhannock High School.
You remember saying goodbye to your folks when you left?
And I said goodbye to them at the train station locally. Went to Wilkes-Barre, the train station here, had our physicals there. I went from there to Philadelphia, where the first Marine recruiting district was. We were sworn in down there. And I was actually on a delayed entry program. I joined in June, but I didn't go until August of '53. Went from Philadelphia on a train down to Yemassee, South Carolina, train station. Got off the train into the station, the restaurant there, and then we got the bus from Yemassee down to Parris Island. I had red hair. I had hair at the time. Had red hair. Running through the area there with all the other recruits. I thought, what the hell am I doing here? GI screaming in my face. And he said, don't look at me, Red. Turn around, look straight ahead. So I just kept on trucking with the other recruits.
What conflicts were you in?
I was in Korea. After the ceasefire, I was a machine gunner, MOS 0331. And I was on 3 different guns, actually. One was a 1917 water-cooled Browning 30 cal 30-06, and the other 2 are 1919 19A1 air-cooled. We're up on the MLR, mainline resistance in Korea, above, right on the DMZ. Some of our OP, we were looking right down into Panmunjom, where all the peace talks were going on.
Where else did you serve?
I came back from Korea in February of '55, and then I left there in '56. I can't remember exactly what month, but for some reason I got orders. Here I'm on the 0311, 0331. They had orders to aerial photograph interpretation school at Fort Holabird, Dundalk, Maryland, Baltimore, which was Army Intelligence Headquarters at the time. So they sent me to aerial photograph interpretation school for, I think it was 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Then I got transferred down to Cherry Point, North Carolina. I was in VMR 253. The old R4Qs of flying boxcars, the C-119s. I was there for 6 months. And then I got orders for Quantico, Virginia, for the basic school of Quantico, Virginia, as an instructor. I went in there started out as an instructor, instructing officers in classes, and then becoming an instructor and learning demolitions. And I was already qualified in crew serve weapons, except for the mortar. I didn't get into that there. And I delved into judo and jujitsu, so I was in the hand-to-hand combat and bayonet fighting and marksmanship fighting, on the rifle range. And at 57 to 61, I was at Quantico, and I met two good buddies of mine. I teamed up with, I got transferred, I got into this, what the military calls, in a sense, a SEERS unit, escape, evasion, survival, search and rescue and all that. So I went to a guerrilla warfare school, learning how to build a guerrilla base camp, survive in the boonies. We did myself and Joe Reed from Bridgeport, Connecticut, who was later KIA in Vietnam, and then Haywood Riley. He retired as a Marine Sergeant Major. He was out of Mississippi. The three of us were just as tight could be. On our way to Vietnam, we were on the LPH, the Iwo Jima, and we stopped. We slowed down, I'll put it like that. We went past Iwo Jima, and they did a wreath laying ceremony. So that was something to see, man the rails and the whole 9 yards.
You served in Vietnam?
Yeah.
Where did you go? What did you do?
Well, when we went on the carrier on the Iwo Jima, we went to the Philippines, went to Subic Bay. I took scuba training there, did our jungle training on the island of Mindoro, and moved into Vietnam. We did several operations. Our very first operation, that I recall, was our first one, right on the DMZ. We actually wish we weren't in the DMZ. We went from a carrier to a destroyer to a rubber boat to land to the destroyer. We're getting closer, and we get into the rubber boats and 7-man rubber boats. And that was a night operation, a strictly night operation. Then we moved way down south to what they called the Michelin Rubber Plantations, Juan Lock area. And we were doing reconnaissance for an Aussie battalion down there, and those guys are wacky. I was a corporal and a sergeant and a corporal again at one time. So,
corporal, then a sergeant, then a corporal.
Yeah, I am.
All right, let's hear that. Let's hear that.
Well.
And this is in Vietnam?
No, this is when I was at Quantico.
Okay.
I had this one kid, and that reminded me of Gomer Pyle. He couldn't chew gum and walk at the same time. Right, he was in arms alternate, both of his arms were going. I was on his butt. And finally, he screwed up so bad. I ended up one day on a parade deck, and I took him down. We were out at Camp Barrett, I believe, at Quantico. And I didn't lay a hand on him physically, but I found an empty wallet here. Get in the wallet. I put him in the wallet and closed the door. All he had to do was pick up the inside.
A wall locker. You put him in a wall locker.
Yeah.
Okay.
And went back out into the parade deck with my platoon. A little while later, and I just made sergeant a couple of months before that. A little while later, here comes a company runner. Sergeant Lamoreaux, CO wants to see you. Okay. So I turned him over to my junior DI. Went down, I walked into the company commander's office. Here's the first sergeant. Here's this kid. Here's the sergeant major of the battalion and the battalion commander. I thought, shit. Well, being in the service, Marine Corps specifically, when they do walk-through inspection, anything's unlocked. So they unlocked this wall locker, and here's this kid sitting there like that. So I was a corporal about 2 weeks later again.
What was your best, and I hate to say job, but what was your best MOS that you did, the thing you enjoyed the most in the Marine Corps?
Reconnaissance platoon sergeant. 63 to 65 at 2nd Recon, then I got orders from near the Marine Barracks 8th and I, Washington, D.C. I did that for a year.
What was that like, working 8th and I? In
And
DC?
different. We were one of LBJ's security guards when he was president. One of his many security guards. Your dad was one of my NCOs at 8th and I, Marine Barracks 8th and I. And then your dad and I ended up going to the police academy locally together. The highlight of my career was shaking Chesty Puller's hand.
Can you tell how that went down?
Anacostia Naval Air Station, which is now Joint Andrews and Anacostia, I believe, but then it was Anacostia Naval Air Station. They had a retired admirals and generals luncheon over at the officers club, the generals' quarters on Anacostia, the admirals' quarters rather. Then they came over to CMC house, Commandant's house, for cocktails. Well, the Commandant's house, 8th and I is 8th Street, the number streets run north and south, the letter streets run east and west in D.C. And the Commandant's house faced on I Street, the barracks entrance faced on 8th Street, so subsequently that's the 8th and I. And all the vehicles, limousines, whatever they were, bringing these generals and admirals over, they pulled up in front on I Street in front of the Commandant's house, and they were greeted there. I was in my office, my guard office there, and I got a call from your dad. Sergeant Lamoreaux said, General Puller's arriving. So I grabbed the OD. We went out and went down. We were in undressed blues. I don't know what they call them. These are the tropical shirts and the dress blue trousers.
They're deltas.
Went down, and your dad's there. And here's the NCO, he's Century Post 1, and your dad and myself and the OD. And limo pulled up, was out in front of the gate. Chester got out, he had a cigar and a cocktail. And across the street was this beat cop, and he hollered over, Colonel Puller, I was with you at the reservoir. And we both, I'm sure, I know I liked it, and your dad most likely did too, and we both liked that. And the cop walked over into the middle of 8th Street, the limo had taken off. He gave Chesty a highball, and they shook hands. They're chatting for a couple of minutes, you know. And then he gave him a highball, and he walked off onto his beat. And General Puller came over, walked in the gate, and Corporal Fetterman gave him a highball and shook his hand. He chatted with him. They come to me and saw my Korean ribbons and asked what outfit, and I told him 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. He said, okay, I know you guys. Shook my hand. One of the OD reached out to shake his hand. Chester walked on by. He gave him a salute. But we did our stuff in Vietnam with either 4-man patrols, anywhere from 4-man to 19, 20, 21-man reconnaissance or ambush patrols. Or
Where? Just Vietnam?
we all over Vietnam, from the south all the way to the north, back and forth. We ended up going in country. Well, we went to down south. We went up to Dong Ha, and back on the carrier. Went in Dong Ha, dropped us in choppers, and we're going out the next day after we got our orders to out right toward Laos. And we're in support of the 4th Marines up there at Dong Ha. And we were out there, and we first spent a night in the bush. The next morning we came out, we're headed towards our objective, which was kind of a little area called Cantien. And we ran into, I said 19-man patrol, we ran into 110 reinforced NVA infantry company. And I lost my platoon leader that day and one other man, and 7 of us got wounded. And from 11, September 16th every year just rings a bell with me, you know. 11:15 we stepped into it. 3.5 hours later we're getting extracted. But we were in close quarter combat, and I got hit. Lucinda got hit first, then I got hit. I got hit right there, the bullet in the leg. And so doing load call, and my M79 man, he was all out of grenades, so I gave him my M14. I had my 45 and a K-bar after that, and so I said, let's pass the word, everybody leapfrog back, we're gonna shrink our perimeter up, because they're getting into us. They're getting overrun from me to you. So we did, and I called in artillery fire on our position.
On your position?
On the position.
On you?
On, yeah. And we had two radios, PRC-10s. We had one to 4th Marines for artillery and infantry support, and the other to air for air support. Well, the radio, my two radio men, the one got hit. It didn't hit him, it hit the radio and it in his back and knocked out the radio. So I'm using one radio, switch back and forth in different frequencies.
Yeah.
From 4th Marines for artillery to air. And we had choppers come in and try to extract us, and they were taking a lot of heat. They went back to Dong Ha, and I had got the word that there's two F-4s on station. F-4 man, I love that plane. And they wanted to know where we wanted to drop stuff, so I was on with the pilot, Major, I don't know his name now, but he knew my name just from information back at Dong Ha. They're coming over, he says, Sergeant Lambert, we're coming over, a couple of fast movers coming over, we're gonna do rockets and GP and some NAPE, what do you want? I told him one judge, when you see our smoke, so we popped the smoke. He came in, made some rocket runs on the hill where the NVA was. They were dug in about a couple of 100 yards from us. And that kind of calmed them down, then did some napalm, or some artillery from 4th Marines around our perimeter. And we had to drop a couple in, but I couldn't move. So I was given a word off and on to my first squad leader, who was taking charge of the platoon, basically maneuvering, and I was doing on the radio. And I heard the jets of the F-4s, and I had a beautiful handlebar mustache at the time.
It's quite regulation?
Yes, it wasn't quite regulations. But, man, I hear that I'm on the air with the F-4. And he said, Sergeant Lamoreaux, he said, this is Major. I'm the lead fast mover. Yes, sir. He said, where are you? I told him, gave him our coordinates, and he said, where do you want the, he said, we're going to do a NAPE run now, napalm. Where do you want it? I said, I'll pop a smoke. If I pass the word to one of the guys, pop smoke. And he came in, each of them they dropped 2 tanks. It was so close to us that it melted my mustache, and the guy's a little farther away from me, he had a very light burn
from the heat
and the napalm, but it took care of the right there
problem.
Yeah. And then they were really starting to move in on us, and I had one of my young Marines, he lives down in Whitehaven, PA. I can't recall it specifically how it came about, but I went down there years ago to a Marine Corps League meeting, Marine Corps ball, and he was telling the guys, he said, you know, the scariest time in my whole life in Vietnam is when I heard Sergeant Lamoreaux say, fix bayonets. That's how they were in on it. I said, all I had is my K-bar and the 45. I said, you guys got the rifles, you guys got the bayonets. But just about that time, too, some more choppers came in, would make some machine gun runs, and we got extracted, so we lucked out. But I had 2 KIA and 7 of us wounded.
So when you got out, you got married?
I got married when I was in the Marine Corps the first time. This is, I was at Quantico. Then we were married for like 5 years, and then I got married again. I came back, I was divorced, and I was back again. We got married, we've been married 53 years come January.
To Lorraine.
Lorraine. We got 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy, a son. Not a boy, it's a man. I got my social security papers in the mail. I said, I can't be 65. I can't be 60. And that bummed me out, but I said, that's it, I quit, I retired. So I've just been retired since then. I'm a VFW Legion, American Legion, this one here now. The Elks.
You've never been afraid to voice your opinion.
No, that's something, I got shins in my, marks in my shins from my wife underneath the table when we're out drinking or something. If I say something, she kicked me under the table.
Whack.
Yeah. But that's
Well,
what
53 years, she's probably deserved the right to give you a whack.
she sure as hell does.
Right?
She sure as hell does. I wouldn't be alive now if it wasn't for Universal 6 Actual upstairs and for her, Commander-in-Chief. I wouldn't be alive. I never gave up anything, but in 2014, it took out half this long from cancer from Agent Orange. And then it went to my throat, and that's cleared up. It went to my throat, I did radiation, that's why my throat's so dry. That's gone, now I got it in this lung, but I'm still, I'm still taking treatments. And I know the day that September 16th, 1966, I said promises I knew I would never keep, in a sense. But I do, in my nightstand by my bed, I got my 45, and I got a pocket Bible.
What message and life advice would you like to leave for future generations who will see this interview?
I put it like this, and I got, when he had my party at the Elk, first song is National Anthem. Second song is Marine Corps Hymn. Third song is Dandy Boy. My main thing is National Anthem. As they say it, there they say God and country. And that's it, plain and simple. Then family's got to be, if it wasn't for my family, I wouldn't be here.
Rick, how do you want to be remembered?
Oh God, that's hard to say. I'd like you to throw it back next year, what I said before about guys like Al Rood and my father-in-law. Those guys are the greatest generation. If I should be anywhere near to having done my job in the service, I'd want it to be as close as it could be to them. That's it.
Thank you, Rick.
Yep, thank you.